I can't tell you how excited we are. It's Spirit Sessions of View of the Light this Sunday to welcome our special guest. I've been looking forward for this for 2 or 3 months. And I have Pam Grout on Spirit Sessions of View of the Light. And Marla, can you say just a few things about being a super fan of Pam Grout and why you're on here today?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here because Pam Grout's book, Think and Grow Rich, was very instrumental in changing my life for the most positive that I've ever experienced. I have angel bumps right now just speaking about it. So super grateful to be here with her. Pam Grout, would you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, me to introduce myself. Well, I'm just thrilled to be here. I love speaking with people of the light, and I know you guys are, so I'm grateful to be here. To introduce myself, I'm just a human being, really hoping to live from my highest self, to channel the light that we all are. And I feel like my highest aspiration is usually just to get out of I know mind, to get away from I know mind. The more I can release anything that I've learned in the past, anything that I think I know, the more spirit can come through, the more the light can come through. So, I mean, people like to know what is your, thing in the world. And I'm an author. I've written 20 books. Well, actually, I guess if you call ESquared the second version, I've written 21 books now. But anyway, 20 books. And I've always been a writer. I've done a lot of travel writing. I've just lived a very, very blessed life, partly because I know about this light that we all are. And I've been able to do the thing I love. I feel like all of us are creative. In fact, one of my books it's called Art and Soul Reloaded. And there's a test in there about, there's the LSAT test to see if you're, can get into law school, the MCAT for med school. But here's my test of, are you creative? And it has one question: are you breathing? And if you answered yes to this question, then you are highly creative. So that's one of my big things too, is to kind of channel, to be a satellite dish for creativity, because we all are creative and we're all here to expand the glory of God, right? Or the glory of the dude, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, hope that's a good enough description.
It's perfect.
I totally love that. But what was it like? When did you first have that awakening and the awareness of everything, and this, this passion that pulled you through everything?
Well, I feel like a lot of it did come from writing, because I feel like in some way creativity and the source, they're one and the same. Like when I'm writing something and I'm channeling the muses, I often call it the muses. It doesn't matter what you call it. Some people call it the universe. Some people call it angels. Some people call it God. I mean, what you call it doesn't matter. It's just that you call it forth because it's here in all of us. But I would say I probably got into more the spiritual type, path in life was through my writing and through always seeking to be creative and seeking to express myself. So I'd say that was kind of the path that got me there. I actually did grow up in a traditional Christian home. My father was actually a Methodist minister, and I did follow that path for, you're always going to follow what your parents tell you to when you're younger. But as I got older, I just started to realize there's a much, much bigger picture. And I do feel like I probably got on the path through my creativity, through, writing. I started writing books when I was back in second grade. I mean, I've always, that's been my gift, to write, to express. And so I guess I got an early start on that. And I've always felt so blessed that I've been able to, participate in life as we're supposed to, but by doing the thing that I love to do. So anyway, I've been able to make a living doing, my true love, which is writing. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And do you feel sometimes that the words aren't, did I mute this? Do you feel sometimes that the words aren't your own? Like that they're just being channeled through you and that you're just like an open channeler of what's coming through?
Yeah, I don't know that I call myself a channeler, but I feel like every great piece of art, every fabulous book, everything that really is kind of just a step above is channeled. I mean, in some ways, we're all just channeling this big divine energy, right? And a lot of us, I talk about in ESquared about collapsing the wave. A lot of us collapse the wave in a very limited viewpoint, but there is so much more possible. So yes, I feel like we're all channeling pieces of the the divine energy, the bigger thing. So yes, so I do feel that, and I feel like my best work. Some days I'll be writing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just write? And I have to literally go back and I actually can find wisdom by reading what I wrote too. Like I may, we all forget, right, from time to time about who we really are. So when I'm in some of those stages where I'm not remembering who I am, I can literally go back and read my own words and go, oh wow, that's right. So I don't know that it comes from me so much as it does come from something bigger than me.
So when you get into the zone, like I know, like one of our Bex channels messages from the angel group or whatever, she can't remember what she says. She'll say, listen now, because we can tell when she's gone into that sort of zone, her voice speeds up and she just starts talking. We go, wow, that's really incredible. Those messages are really cool. And but she can't remember what she says. And I think a lot of us who sometimes slip into that don't even realize. But that's really interesting. You go back and do you find new things in your books all the time? Like,
well, things that I'd forgotten that I'd written, and I'm not really quite that much to where I'm not there and I couldn't remember at the moment. Like at the moment, I'm pretty aware of it. But as we go on, I may forget something that came through, and I look and I go, wow, that was really profound. Did I write that? And I don't even take claim for authoring it as much as I really feel like I'm just here to be, a satellite dish, the secretary, that writes down, what the dude wants me to write down. So I do have a real sense of that, but it's not like I go away and something else comes here. I feel like it's kind of a joint effort, using the skills that I have with expressing, maybe a message from the higher thing. And one thing I've noticed interesting, I'm a big journaler. So every day, I write in my journal, and I'm just, chicken scratching out whatever, thoughts, dumping thoughts in my head. But every now and then I'll notice that my handwriting slows down and I start printing something. It's like, oh, and a lot of times that is something that's maybe, at least it's saying, pay attention to this, So I do notice that, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon. I'm just writing away fast as I can. Then all of a sudden I'll be printing. And because my handwriting isn't always so legible, even to myself, it's like when it's printed, oh, okay. When I'm writing it with a pen and I'm printing it out in block letters, okay, then I can't miss it when I go back and read it, that this was something I needed to remember, something that either might be, significant for me, or something that I need to write in a blog post, or something that I need to, pass on in whatever form it might be.
I just love the fact that in your books, you give people experiments or action points or something to do, not just listen to. I just love how at the end of every chapter and in ESquared that you are given an assignment to do homework, and that proves what you've been saying. So you can put the words in. It's not airy fairy stuff. It's like, here I can go and I can go try this, and then I can see if it's bull whatever or not. Or it's like, wow, that's really true. Like, and like, how many sunset beige trucks do you see? Well, if I look out my window right now, I'm looking right at one, but never noticing it. And part of, I think, what your experiments or E2 says is start noticing the world without, instead of just always being in your head listening to those same negative thoughts over and over again. I don't know, maybe. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so true. So true that we are connected to everything and everybody. And then we tend to animate into our life whatever we're putting our attention upon. And that's really why these experiments work, because we're putting our attention, we're kind of moving from problem state, which is the way most people live their lives, in problem state. And then we're moving into possibility state. And when we're in possibility state, we're able to see more of those connections and those signs and all the gifts that the universe is constantly wanting to bestow on us.
Yeah, problem state is a lot of things that we do. Like people say, I live from paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
Instead of, so there's a thing where we want to manifest more money, but we're always, I've got all these bills and I have to pay them. But how do we do that? What's the one of your, from the Course in Miracles to Thank and Go Rich to E2, you talk about this. What is your advice for people on this? How do you get out of that?
It goes back to, what are you placing your attention upon? You are going to animate into your life what you're putting your attention upon. And if you're putting your attention upon, oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, well, the universe hears that and seconds it. The universe is literally just reacting to what you're putting your attention upon. So when we take our attention off of these limitations, I mean, basically a problem is a limitation. There's no reason tomorrow has to be the same way today is, except that we keep looking at the world through the limitations that we have created for ourselves. We've collapsed that way, to use the quantum speak, of this particular reality, when there's such a bigger reality that's there. We just have to uncollapse the wave and kind of get in more into possibility state. And then all kinds of miraculous things will be seen by us, will be shown to us. So really the experiments, as much as anything, are just a way to get people to pay attention to different things. The kind of principles I talk about in this book, they're true all the time. I mean, they're just true. That's the truth. But people are not paying attention. They're focusing on the paycheck to paycheck, or the, whatever problem that they feel like they're trying to escape from. Even when people are doing all these affirmations and things, that's like saying they don't have it now. So that's why gratitude's so important, because it's like you're acknowledging, I am, blessed beyond measure. When you look around and you see all these amazing things, you see the abundance of the universe, that's what's going to show up in your life. So it's basically changing your attention from lack and limitation, which is not the truth of the world, into what is the truth of the world, which is abundance and kindness and love and light. That is the truth. And when we're connected to source, that's all we see. But we often do, focus on these little tiny collapsed waves of problems in this world that we think is our world, which is just a small piece of it.
Can you talk a little bit about Taz's foundation and a little bit?
I started a foundation after my daughter passed. She is 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years next month. She had an aneurysm and very unexpectedly passed to the other side, and very, very much of a big shock. And it really shattered my world, to be honest. It was just not at all what I was expecting. My parents had both passed that year too. It was 2018. And, my father and my mother, they were both 83. And, that was more, we know the truth, that we don't really die and that we go on. So for them, it wasn't, it's like, that's the way the world is, But when Taz passed, it was just a shattering, just shocking thing for me. But because I'd already was very familiar with, like you mentioned, Moorjani earlier. I know Anita Moorjani. Taz knew Anita Moorjani. I know about this continuation of life. I know that this material body is just a piece of who we are. So I already had some of that background, but it really required me to really step up my game as far as really, truly trusting in this, bigger truth that I do know. But anyway, after she passed, one of the things that I did, again, how are you coping with this total,
devastating. I can't imagine how devastating that would be.
And so we always had a little game that we played, this little 222 game. And it started when she was in junior high. And so we'd see pictures of 222 different places. And we'd, text a picture of it to each other. And it was just a thing, 222. She had started this Facebook group when she was in junior high. So it came to me soon thereafter to start the 222 Foundation, the Taz Grant 222 Foundation. And so every year on February 22nd, 222, we give a gift to a person or an organization that's working to change the consciousness of the world. And the 222 Foundation supports things because when we change the consciousness of the world, then the world starts to change. I mean, as long as we stay in the same consciousness, we're going to get the same results. We're going to see exactly the same. So consciousness needs to be changed. Taz was very, very creative. So we also look for very creative projects. We have 3 guidelines, but it's basically rewarding people that are looking for possibilities, that are looking to change the consciousness. And so anyway, every year we do that. And the first year that after she had passed, I had been in India. I was planning to go anyway. And after she passed, like, oh, can I even go to India? I mean, I was just so thrown off my game. I didn't even know I could go, but one of my best friends from college agreed to go with me because I was speaking with this Tribes for Good. But we ended up going to the Taj Mahal, which, come to find out, was, it was a monument of love, a monument to love to this one mogul's favorite wife, whose name happened to be Mumtaz. That was her name. And it took 20,000 workers, 22 years. So there's your 222 to build this monument to love. So I felt her presence with me there. And then when we left, we went to this place called Shiro's Hangout. And that was where we went. That's where the first gift went in 222 of 2019, which would have been the first, February 22nd after her passing. And I felt like, she led us right there to the Shiro's Hangout. It was these women that are completely giving of their gifts. They all had unfortunately had acid thrown on them. In India, there's still a tradition where, the husband gets mad at the wife and he decides to throw. I mean, this doesn't happen all, but it happened to these women. And usually when that happens, they go into hiding. And to change the consciousness, they're like, no, this is who we are. We can give. We're not going to go into hiding. And so they started this. It's called Shiro's Hangout. And so people can come there and they freely, serve coffee and tea and treats. And they were in the process of moving to a new location. And so the grant for 222 went to them to, build their new space when, what they were moving to. So every year I feel like I've been led by Taz in where to, give our donation each year in 222. Like there's a place called Taz's Hot Dirt up in Canada that does regenerative gardening. And then they, give the stuff away to people that need produce. So it's, a continuing project. So we've just rewarded every year different projects that are supporting changing consciousness. And that is how we change the world.
Absolutely. It's those little positive things, that grassroots projects that do change the world, for sure. And I always think that how devastating that would be, and what kind of a test you had to do to go through, like, oh, now I have to apply all those principles that I've been telling everyone else to my life again. And seems kind of a cruel twist of fate, but not really, because you had all that to kind of hold you up at the same time, right?
Well, I have such gratitude that I got to be a mother. I was 37 when I found out I was pregnant. I was not married. I mean, I could very well have been this age that I am now and not have been a mother. I mean, that wasn't, the path that I thought I was on. But again, the dude has a much bigger picture for us than what we conceive of ourselves. So I feel such gratitude that I did get to be a mother. I got that opportunity. And I got to be Taz's mother, because she really was, I mean, from the beginning, she was just this amazing person. And I got that opportunity to be her mom. So that was just such a blessing. And to this day, she still sends me signs. I still feel very connected to her. I'm still her mom, and she's still my daughter. And, we communicate in different ways now, but she's very much alive in me and in my life. So yes, it isn't what I would have planned. It wasn't what, I would have chosen ever, but it, has led to, the state I'm in right now, has led to more growth and love and gratitude, which is what, the world is meant to do, to lead us toward more expansion and love and gratitude.
Yeah. It's nice to know. What, Marla, have you got a question for your hero here?
Well, I was just kind of curious, like, what one experiment, 'cause for me, the experiment that really has been super powerful and life-changing was the one we spoke about before the show went live, about the daily gratitude practice, 3 new things every day, writing it down. And now I've been doing that for about 6 years and seen my life change tremendously. So I'm just curious if you've heard or if you've seen in your life one specific experiment that consistently people are always saying, like, this one is the go-to, like, this is incredible. Yeah.
Well, when the book first came out 10 years ago, I'm sure over the 10 years, I've probably gotten more than 1 million emails. And they usually start with, OMG, you're never going to believe this. I mean, that's what they often start with. So I have heard so many stories. So, I mean, these amazing miracles. I mean, things that, in fact, in EQ, which is kind of the follow-up book that had 10 more experiments, I had a chapter called, well, duh. Meaning, because we think, this is such a miraculous, amazing thing. Well, no. Once we realize this is the state of the world, this state of miracles, miraculous living, possibility living, that is the truth. So the well duh parts come from, hey, we're moving out of that collapsed wave that we believed is the way the world is, that we have to struggle and that life is always hard and that, love and joy isn't available every moment in every person. I mean, these are all, games we play with ourselves, but it's not the truth. So I guess, my passion in life is opening myself up to more miracles and also, sharing that with other people. I don't consider myself a teacher. Like some people call me a teacher. Like once this book became big, people started inviting me to come speak and give workshops. And I'm kind of like, well, I'm not really, a teacher or a workshop giver. I mostly just kind of write in my blog posts about what happens to me or what I believe. And if other people happen to dig it, hey, that's great. So I'm very grateful for that. But I don't think of myself as having, lessons to teach other people necessarily. I do want people to realize that the world is a whole lot bigger than that little voice in your head that's telling you you can't do this or that you're a limited person or that the world is scary. If you listen to that voice, you're going to create the world that a lot of us have created up until now.
Right.
So your day job is a very arduous one. You're a travel writer. So I know it must be arduous traveling sometimes because it is. I understand that. But tell us when you decided to manifest that little.
Well, it's really interesting. A long time ago when I first kind of heard about manifestation, I had gone to this class. It just appealed to me. It was called Love is Letting Go of Fear. And it was Gerald Jampolsky. It was all about, focusing more on the love. But I also, at that time, the teacher that taught that class was teaching about manifestation. So I had written down a few intentions for myself. And one of them was to be a world traveler, to be a kind and loving mother. I mean, I had these intentions and they've all, of course, come true. But I knew I wanted to travel. World traveler was one of them. And I sort of fell, so to speak, into travel writing. I don't think I even recognized that there was that kind of a career. But I think the universe said, hey, if this girl is going to travel, we're going to have to figure out another way. Because, most people think, oh, I want to travel, so I'm going to save up money. I'm going to work really hard to save up money. Well, that's one possibility. Of course, you can do that. That's one way to travel. Or you can become a travel writer where you get invited literally all the time to come to these really beautiful places and be taken to the best hotels, the best restaurants, the best things to do. So I've been very blessed to be able to see the world as a travel writer. But again, it kind of just happened to me. I had sent a query letter off to Ladies Home Journal, and it was just about being a freelance writer because at that time I was already a freelance writer. And I mentioned in there that I had just come back from Jamaica and I'd done a story about that, and that I had been picking coffee in Nicaragua and I'd done a story about that. But at that time, I didn't call myself a travel writer, but she called me up and she said, where are you going next? We need a travel series. And I'm like, well, I wasn't at that time going anywhere, but a friend of mine was going to Tampa. I said, I'm going to Tampa. You never say no to an editor. And so she says, okay, I need 1,000 words, and, gave me this assignment. So I called my friend and go, can I go to Tampa with you? And so I went and did the story on Tampa. And then from there, I found out that once you get assignments like this, you will get invited all these places. I mean, I literally been all over the world on someone else's dime. So I've been very, very blessed. I'm not as focused on travel writing lately. I haven't been doing as much travel writing, but it's been just a blessed life. I was able to take Taz all over the world. I mean, she had been to 40 countries in her 25 years, which is pretty incredible for a person who's 25. And of course, I've been, even more countries than that. And I feel very, very blessed. You realize the world's a lot smaller than you thought it was, and that people are exactly the same wherever you go, despite, these collapsed ways we believe that they're others or they're different than us. That's not true. But you have to get out there and meet these people till you realize that we're all the same. We're all just beings of light and love, right?
And we have so much to be thankful for where we live compared to some places, and it's like they're very thankful for their lives, and then we look at our lives and go, oh man, like they don't have this or they don't have that, and you say, wow, they're just as content and happy, and they have a whole different way of being than we do. At certain customs, and it's so interesting. Even in other parts of Canada, it's interesting to see how everybody lives because it's a big country. So it's like, I mean, when you travel over the United States, you find differences all across the country too. So
Of course, yes.
because you can say, I'm not in Kansas anymore. I just wanted to use that one. Sorry, I've been waiting all day. So no, it must be awesome. Yeah, that would be my dream. I've been to every province in Canada except for 3 now, and those are on my list. So I'm waiting.
Yeah, Canada's such a beautiful country. I love Canada.
Yeah, I love the north of Canada. So I love way north. I mean, talking Baffin Island north and Bathurst Inlet. I love up there. But it's awesome. I just was so your next book. What are you working on your next book? I know you said you were working on it.
Well, I've been working on this book for a while. It kind of comes and goes to me, and right now it's currently, that's what I was working on when I was in Spain, in the afternoons. I certainly was out enjoying myself in Spain, but I would work every afternoon. And it's a book I'm currently calling The Ego's Playbook. And it's sort of like, how a coach makes up these diagrams of how he's going to beat the opposing team. So basically, it's kind of a humorous look at what the ego decided to do. I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, and we talk about the ego, that voice in our head, that thing that keeps us, that collapses the wave of this other, way the world looks. Well, that's the ego. And so what the book is, it's like 21 strategies that the ego came up with to own humans, to keep us from recognizing our authentic selves, from knowing who we really are. And I had this book idea a while back, and I've worked on it off and on for some time, but it's currently, the one that I'm working on now. I've also worked some on a book about staying in touch with people on the other side because of so many, experiences that I've had with Taz. So, I'm just the satellite dish. I'm just here to write down what the dude, the spirit, the muses, whatever you want to call it, has me write down.
That's awesome. I love that idea about the ego, because oftentimes we learn best what we want by seeing what we don't want. So it's like an opposite way of learning how to do that, saying, oh, if that's what it's doing, then I want to do the opposite. So that's a great way of going for it. What do you think, Teresa? What do you think about, if you've got a question about your money thing?
No, it's all too many words locked here. I don't think I can get all that out of my mouth. But I've been working so long on I'm even a manifestation law of attraction coach. I've been working on this so long. And then Marla had a really neat class, and things started clicking in me. And then we've had different guests, and things are all start clicking. But it's like, I'm tired of clicking. I want it done clicked. I want it to go now. And I'm tired of being in my own way is what it is.
Yeah, well, even little things like, I talk a lot about my past. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, she's lagging a bit, I think.
Oh, no, my thing is lagging, and so it's just hard to talk. Yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, well, just even listening, like you said, you've been working on it, or I'm not quite sure how you word it, but one of the things I like, just little wording things can make a difference. Like, you mentioned that. And one of the things we say in my possibility posse is, well, up until now, that may have been the reality up until now, but it can change at any moment. So we often, like if somebody says something like, oh, I'm still working, blah, blah, blah. Well, up until now you were. And so we will talk about like playing around with it. Just little wordings can make a difference. We just want to, or my goal, I guess, is to, tear holes in that wall that we put up from that abundant flow. Just any time we can punch a hole in there, and little wordings, things like that, getting together with others like this. There's, having other people hold that vision for you, because, we all do have our blocks. I mean, that's the ego, right? The ego is telling us, that this can't happen, or it's going to be the same tomorrow as it was yesterday. I mean, that's the ego's voice. That's what we're overcoming. And again, that's what this book is about, is, the ego loves to, ego loves to separate us from our true self. And so to do that, it's distracted us with all kinds of crazy things. So anyway, but I would say, yeah, just, play around with these concepts if you like that. And know that you have a wealthy father. I always like to say that too. We all have a wealthy father. We are connected to this divine energy of God. If you like the word God, not everybody does, but I mean, we are heirs to so much abundance, and we just need to start appreciating that and recognizing that. I mean, one of the things I say, I think I might have written this in Think and Grow Rich, I'm not sure, but you go out and look at a yard, and in one little square foot of grass, like there's so many pieces of grass. The consumer message tells us that things are limited and that we don't have enough and that there's scarcity. I mean, we are taught that from the time we're little kids, but it is so not the way the world is. So basically it's realigning how we see the world. I mean, it's changing consciousness, to go back to the 222 Foundation. That's what my world is all about. Going, getting back to, proto Pam, the first Pam, when you're still all light and love.
When you thought you could just draw things into existence just by drawing them with your crayons on the paper, right?
And you can. It's just like Harold and the Purple Crayon. I love that book.
Yeah, that's a great book. That was a great book. I love that book too. Pam, tell us about your groups. You do have a couple of Facebook groups. You have a book study, or you had a book study going on ESquared. I don't know if it's still going or not.
I did not do that. My good friend, my dear friend Lisa Natoli, did put together a Facebook, ESquared Facebook. It was a pop-up Facebook group, and I think it just went on in August. I believe it's closed down now. And I do think there's some ESquared groups out there that other people have started. But again, I don't see myself as a teacher, so I haven't really started any. I'm members of some of those groups. Like I was a member of Lisa's pop-up thing, and I would put something on there every now and then. But I myself don't have those kind of groups. Again, I'm very clear. I've gotten clear instruction from the dude that my task in life is to write. And when people started asking me to come give workshops, I mean, I would do it. But again, I've got my marching orders are to continue writing, continue expressing myself in that way. But so if you look on Facebook, you may find some of that stuff. It's not me generating it, but there are those kind of groups out there. In fact, I believe, I talk a lot about possibility posses. And again, that goes back to getting together, not talking about all the problems we have, but about all the possibilities that are out there. And this group, this pop-up Facebook group that Lisa started in August, I believe some of them have now gone on to create a possibility posse of their own, which is on Facebook. So I think if somebody looked on Facebook, they could probably find something, but it's not me generated, or I didn't generate it. On the level of my consciousness. I may have created it some other way.
Right.
I have to say, I love how you narrate your own books on Audible, right?
All except for ECubed. I did ESquared, and then I thought, okay, well, we'll let somebody else do the second one. But I had so many people say, we miss you. Even though it was a professional actress who is much better than me, people still like hearing, they like hearing the author's voice. So anyway, so I do that.
It's so enthusiastic, and I know that you kind of just talk about it. It's so great to listen to you. I mean, I have no problem listening to you all the time.
Thank you.
Hey, Marla, have you listened to some of Pam's books as well? Oh, show your oracle cards.
Oh yes, the ESquared.
Oh, yeah.
The Oracle of E with you and Colette Baron Reed.
Yeah.
Those were fun. Every year I paint my word of the year, and a few years ago I decided I was guided to pull a card from the Oracle of E and have that kind of be my theme. So my word was hope, and I got the rainbows and sunshine and lollipops, that one. And it was so much fun to paint it, and so much fun to have that, the deeper meaning behind it, and just, I love it a lot. But I've listened. I thought I had ESquared on Audible when I went to look, and I had ECubed, and so I quick downloaded the 10th anniversary edition of it and just binge listened to it the other day, and it was so much fun. I got my daughter involved. When we talk about going back to being in that childlike state of manifesting, she's a powerful manifester, and she has realized it, and I love empowering her in that way, to be able to be like, hey, if you want to, because she's preteen, so she doesn't always want to do what mom wants her to do, but inviting her to join me in these experiments. And so that was really cool, to just play with the universe in that way. And I love that we can empower our children, and that also I find that she's such a beautiful mirror for me. And so she helps me to come back to that state of childlike belief, when she asks for something, instead of like shooting her down on us. And I'm like, yeah, anything is possible. Ask away, like, let's do it. And then putting that into practice in my own life. It's just, I think that's one of the biggest things I love so much about the ESquared and the E cubed and Think and Grow Rich, is just all the possibilities, and just like you said, shifting the way you're thinking, and speaking, because we have so much power in our words, and just shifting that, and it does work. Like I said, I've alluded to or spoken to that my life has changed significantly, and I know others have also, and others, there's so much more possibility to change and to expand, and the possibilities are endless, and I love it. So thank you so much for being that vessel of sharing this stuff with us, because it's so amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have a fun story. I think I put this in my Course in Miracles experiment, but again, out of the mouth of babes. And, we said a lot of it's getting away from our I know mind and getting back to being like a child. And so somebody sent me this story that had happened. I love all these stories that I get. I feel like part of my mission is to share these stories so people will realize, oh, well, if it happened for them, it could happen for them. But anyway, so she had told her two young boys, yes, I'm reading this book, ESquared, and you can manifest what you want. And so we've got 48 hours. So one of her sons said, I would like a turtle. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? How's he going to manifest a turtle? And so she started freaking out, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have told them about this. Well, so that night, she puts her sons to bed, and out of the blue, again, I love that synonym for God or the duty of the universe. There's a knock on her door, and she kind of lives out in the country a little bit. She's like, who is here? It's night. Why is there someone knocking on my door? Well, and then it was a guy that somehow was a friend of somebody. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a guy that worked for the highway department. And he comes up and he goes, I found this turtle yesterday, and I thought maybe one of your boys might like it. And so she said, why did I even doubt, or why did I even think this couldn't be a possibility?
Yep.
Yeah. And I just listened to that story.
Oh, you did?
Reading it this morning as I was making soup. But it's so awesome. And I just loved it. I love that story. That's so cool. We know all your links are attached to the video or the podcast, or whichever way you're listening to this for Pam. Teresa, can you give Pam the 3 questions that we have for this, and let Pam get on with her very super busy, amazing, wonderful life?
These are just the fun questions at the end, because they relate in a different way. The audience and the people and stuff, and it's all a lot of fun. So the first question is basically like they're going to give a speech, you're going to share your information and encourage people and stuff, but you're walking across the stage, walking up to the podium, and they're playing your song, and you're listening and you're dancing. What is the song they're playing that really inspires you?
Well, I have an experiment that I've done at some of my workshops, and that song Happy by Pharrell Williams, I actually use that song in this experiment that I have people do, like in a big group, if we're, if in a workshop. So I would guess that song would be Happy by Pharrell Williams. That's just a fun one. I mean, there's a lot of my life, but that's a good one. The upbeat song.
Awesome.
I love that. That's super great choice. I love that the whole feeling that would bring the whole group and everything. That's great. The second question is, what's your favorite crystal or gemstone?
Well, I love crystals and gemstones. I haven't collected them a lot, but I think amethyst is a crystal, right? And
yes.
Okay, I believe that's my birthstone, so I'm going to say amethyst. So
yeah,
that's
really, really good for lots of things.
I thought I had one right here. I always have to love them so my kitty don't get them. But that's cool. So the last question then is just a form of soft disclosure. person to person. Have you ever, everywhere you've been, all the places you've been, have you ever seen anything like, a UFO or something of a contact of sorts that you like, whoa, that's something there?
Well, I feel like these other beings are around us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of things in the sky that very well could be a UFO. And it's really interesting you ask that right now. There's a thing in the Course in Miracles. They say, as you let go of, your training, the collapse wave of what, you believed the way the world is, you start seeing light, just in your vision field, you'll start seeing little things of light. And I didn't even, the other day, I was like seeing these little visions of light. And I was thinking, I didn't even think about, oh, this is maybe what the Course in Miracles is talking about, until I was talking to a friend of mine who's also in the Course in Miracles. I thought, oh, wow, that may be what the Course in Miracles is talking about, where you start seeing these flashes of light. But I will.
Oops. You got so high-vibed. Hopefully she'll be right back. That happens. Did everybody see the little 2340? If you take a look, you'll see a nice orb go past beside Pam.
2340.
Yeah, 2340. You guys will have to check that out. Pam hopefully will be back in a second. I think she just blew up her internet with being so high vibe. Oh, she's back in. There she goes. Let's add her. Okay, we'll add her back in. Just a second. Come on. Yeah. Come on. I'm having a little technical difficulties here, but we'll get Pam back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, I had a manifestation I can share, because I'm not as versed in her work as you guys are. I've been reading it all along. I only recently was able to read that book, and so I knew she's coming on our show, and I'm doing my thing. I'm over there. I'm making myself like a goddess shower. It's a body scrub, and I use honey, coconut, and stuff like that. And I brought I put muses.
There she is.
Oh, you guys,
And
I am so sorry.
about it.
I got a little message that your power is running low. And so anyway, I guess that's what happened. So sorry about that, but I'm
No worries.
and I know we're almost to the end anyway. Sorry.
No worries. Like, this stuff happens, and we never get very, very too excited about it at any time. We'll pop in and out, and we've had things blow up on us just from energy. High vibe energy comes in, and look, you have more light coming in right now. I love how you talk about more light coming in, and a very good experiment was that for my husband and I, who has a hard time sometimes grasping all this stuff. We were out, and I said, there's northern lights out tonight. And he says, oh, I can't see anything. I said, see, you can just see a wave. And I took up my iPhone. It has that 3-second, at night, and you could see all the colors. But in front of you, you couldn't see it. But with that 3-second exposure, you got all the colors. And it's like, I can't see it with my eyes, but I can see it here. So it really exists. And that's it. I said, so how much other stuff don't we see? Because our human eyes can't capture it or at this vibration.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty awesome that you're seeing light, and I was seeing orbs behind you at 2340. I said, I took a note of the time. So when you come, you can see your little orb flashing past you.
Oh,
so
awesome.
That's pretty awesome. We want to thank you so much for being here today. It's just amazing having you on, and hopefully we can have you on when you're on your 24th book or your 22nd book this year. If you would, we'd love to have you back, and have so much fun in Mexico this week.
I will. Thank you so much. It was so great to meet you guys and to hear about what you're doing, and we will stay in touch.
Thank you, Pam.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Just let me pull you out there. My tech. I give up with this tech.